Welcome, everyone. Before we dive in, be sure to drop your thoughts, feelings, and lessons in the comments below. Like the video and subscribe so you never miss stories like this. Let's get into it. The cruelest thing Sod Harper ever did was turn my workplace into her personal stage, hook her arm through my coworker Terrence Pike, and humiliate me by the security desk like I was background noise. She smiled sweet and loud and said, "Terrence actually listens. You just clock in and exist, then laugh like it was a joke everybody should enjoy." People pretended not to hear, which somehow made it worse. Terrence grinned, badge swinging, proud as if he'd earned me being small. I stood there calm on the outside, but inside I felt my dignity fold like paper. Here's how it happened. My name is Malachi Harper, and I'm the kind of man people describe as steady. I work in operations for a logistics firm in the Chicago Loop, the kind of job that runs on timestamps, quiet competence, and not needing applause. I used to believe marriage worked the same way. Show up, do the work, protect the person you promised. I met Sod at a friend's game night in Bronzeville, and she made the room feel warmer just by being in it. She laughed with her whole face, stole my fries like it was a love language, and acted like my calm was a superpower. When we were good, we were really good. Sod used to call me Mr. Reliable and say it like she meant safe, not boring. We'd take long walks along the lakefront trail, splitting playlists like we were sharing secrets. She'd link her arm through mine and ask me to guess what strangers did for work, and I'd be wrong on purpose just to hear her laugh. On Sundays, we'd cook, me on the cutting board, her dancing with a wooden spoon like she was on stage. I thought we were building a life. I didn't know she was building an audience. The first crack looked small. Sod started correcting me in public, tiny little jabs disguised as jokes. If I ordered the wrong coffee, she'd say, "He's sweet, but he's simple." If I told a story, she'd cut in with, "That's not how it happened," and smile like she was saving the room for me. I let it go because I was raised to keep peace, and because she'd squeeze my hand afterward like that erased it. She always had a way of making me feel like I was overreacting to my own humiliation. And she started treating my job like it was a cute hobby. I'd come home tired from late shipments and route changes, and she'd say, "Must be nice to have a little desk life," while she scrolled through her phone, deep in her entrepreneur grind. If I talked about work stress, she'd tell me I lacked ambition. But when her business had a slow month, she'd slide closer, kiss my cheek, and ask if I could float us until her next big break. I didn't mind supporting my wife. What I minded was how she acted like my support was owed. We still had funny moments, which is how disrespect hides. One night, we went to a comedy show in Hyde Park, and a comedian joked about married men forgetting anniversaries. Sod elbowed me and whispered, "Don't worry, I already trained you." I laughed because the crowd laughed, but the word train stuck in my throat. Later, outside in the cold, she wrapped my scarf around my neck and said, "You know I'm playing." And she kissed me like that was proof. I wanted to believe her, so I did. That's the part one regret. How often I chose comfort over truth. Terrence Pike entered our story like a coincidence. He transferred to my team. Same floor, same meetings, same office jokes. He was loud, charming, the type who called everyone family without meaning any of it. Sod met him once at a company holiday mixer. I begged her to attend, just so my coworkers could stop asking if I was married to a ghost. She showed up late in a red coat, kissed my cheek, and Terrence's eyes followed her like he'd been given a gift. He said, "Man, your wife got main character energy." Sod laughed too hard. I told myself it meant nothing. After that, Sod started caring about my work in a way she never had before. She asked what time I got in, what days Terrence worked, whether the office had a gym, whether security checked visitors closely. It was framed as curiosity, but it felt like a plan. She'd say, "I might stop by and bring you lunch," then never came. When Terrence started complimenting my ties, my shoes, my stable vibe, I thought he was just being friendly. I didn't know some people study what you have, so they can picture taking it. And some partners help them rehearse. The humiliation at work didn't start at maximum volume. It started as Sod accidentally calling my desk phone while she was laughing in the background. Terrence's laugh, close and comfortable. "Oops," she'd text, "but you're probably busy anyway." Then she'd show up in the lobby once, looking too dressed up for a random Tuesday. and wave at me like we were fine while Terrence appeared from the elevator like it was planned. She'd leave with him in front of my coworkers and blow me a kiss over her shoulder. I stood there smiling like a fool because the alternative was falling apart in public. At home, she got colder. She stopped asking about my day. She stopped touching me unless she needed something. Money for a vendor, a quick transfer, just for now. If I questioned her, she'd smirk and say, "Don't start acting insecure. That's not attractive." She put her phone face down like it was a reflex. When I tried to talk, she'd yawn and say, "You always make everything heavy." Then she'd go to sleep with her back to me, leaving me staring at the ceiling like I'd done something wrong by wanting basic respect. The worst part wasn't even the cheating. It was how she used people to make me feel small. She'd invite her friends over and tell stories where I was the punchline, how I don't know luxury, how I think Target is fine dining, how I act like a manager but don't manage anything at home. They'd laugh, and she'd look at me to see if I'd laugh too. Sometimes I did, because I was embarrassed. Sometimes I didn't, and she'd say, "See, he can't take a joke." Every time, she won either way. I started shrinking in my own house. The day she humiliated me at work by the security desk was the day I stopped shrinking. She showed up with Terrence like they were celebrities arriving at a premiere. She said those words, "clock in and exist," and I felt something in me go quiet. Not rage, not tears, a switch. I didn't argue, because arguments are still attention, and she loved attention. I nodded once and walked past them like they were strangers. I went to my office, shut my door, and sat in the silence until my heartbeat stopped sounding like panic. That afternoon, I pulled our bank statements. Not because I wanted to play detective, but because something told me the disrespect had a price tag. The pattern jumped out fast. Hotel deposits, ride shares at odd hours, gifts from stores Saad pretended she didn't like, charges near Terrence's neighborhood. And then there were the small cuts, Cash App transfers labeled inventory, marketing, client dinner, like a costume she wore for my money. I didn't confront her. I opened a new account, rerouted my direct deposit, and started documenting. Calmly, quietly, like my life depended on it, because it did. I met with a divorce attorney in River North the next morning. I sat across from a woman named Danielle Cross, who had kind eyes and a voice that didn't flinch at ugly truths. I told her everything. Work humiliation, public disrespect, the money, the coworker. She didn't gasp. She didn't give me sympathy that felt like pity. She asked questions. Dates, amounts, locations. Then she said two words that sounded like a door unlocking. Marital waste. She explained it plain. Money spent on an affair using marital funds could be accounted for. "We don't need drama," she said. "We need proof." Proof didn't mean stalking. It meant process. We filed. We requested financial discovery. We requested preservation of digital records tied to accounts, emails, payment apps, cloud backups, device account links, transaction metadata. Danielle also suggested a digital forensic review through legal channels, the kind done by professionals with chain of custody, not somebody's cousin with a laptop. I didn't feel victorious. I felt sick, like I was putting my marriage in a folder and labeling it evidence. But every time my stomach turned, I remembered Saad laughing in that lobby. I remembered Terrence's grin, and I kept going. Saad noticed the shift and tried to poke at it. She'd come home and say, "Why are you acting weird? You got a little backbone now." She'd stand in the doorway like she wanted me to beg for her again. When I didn't, she got meaner. She posted a photo with Terrence at a rooftop bar with a caption, "Upgrade season." She tagged the location. People from my job saw it. She wanted me to explode so she could point and say, "See, he's unstable." I didn't give her that. I cooked dinner. I watched my show. I lived like a man already halfway out the door. Terrence tried his own version of intimidation at work. Little comments in meetings, jokes about some men not keeping their woman happy, a loud laugh whenever my name came up. But karma has a funny way of using the same stage people use for disrespect. Compliance got involved when the discovery process revealed expense reimbursements lined up with nights Saad claimed were business. HR doesn't care about romance. HR cares about risk. Suddenly, Terrence wasn't smirking. He was sweating in button-down shirts, getting called into rooms with closed doors. He started avoiding my eyes in the hallway like my calm had become something dangerous. The forensic report landed like a cinder block on a table. Danielle walked me through it in her office, page by page. It showed rides, deposits, transfers, confirmations routed through a new email that still linked back to our family plan. It showed deleted messages recovered through lawful methods, enough to establish the affair and connect purchases to Terrence. It showed patterns, not opinions. That's what broke their confidence, not because they felt guilty, but because they couldn't talk their way out of timestamps. Saad didn't apologize. She didn't even pretend. She said, "So what? You're still not leaving." That was her last mistake. Court wasn't cinematic. It was quiet, procedural, and devastating in a way that felt fair. The judge didn't care that Saad was charming. The judge cared that marital money was spent on an affair and that my documentation was clean. The order required repayment, adjusted distribution, and fees. No speeches, no clapping, just consequences written in ink. Then came the private fallout. Sada's business was exposed as funded by the account she drained, and when that support stopped, her image cracked. Terrence faced internal action, because mixing workplace policy violations with evidence is a quick way to lose your footing. They didn't get sympathy. They got bills and silence. I didn't celebrate publicly. I didn't post quotes. I didn't win in a way anyone could cheer for. I just rebuilt in private, moved to a clean apartment in Evanston, changed my routines, started therapy quietly, and let peace become my new addiction. When coworkers tried to ask, I kept it simple. I'm good. That was the transformation, steady, successful, private. And the karma? It served every cruel moment the way only real life can. Not with fireworks, but with consequences that followed them home, into their accounts, into their reputations, and into the empty space where respect used to live. If you made it this far, do me a favor. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story. And comment your city/state or country. I'm doing a special dedicated video for the most mentioned location in the comments. Where are you watching from?